Okay guys, we're here working on the trigonometry practice review. A few quick notes. 1 through 5, you have to use your calculator. So if you can't do that, maybe you can pull out your iPhone. The first 3 you can just plug right in, hit enter. And the second 4, because you're solving for an angle, you have to use inverse. Okay. Next, for number 6, use the picture to the left to find the 3 ratios. And remember, whatever angle is in the parentheses, that's your reference angle. That's where we're going to label all of our opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. So you got to put your theta by B, and then from there label opposite, adjacent, and then the hypotenuse. And then you can do your SOHCAHTOA. Okay? So all it's asking for is a ratio of sides. Okay, let's focus on 7, 8, and 9. 7, we need to draw a picture. A basketball hoop casts a shadow. So here's my basketball hoop. Oh boy, there's the basketball hoop. Casts a shadow that's 32 feet long. Okay, the angle created by the ground and the shadow is 23 degrees. So this angle right here is 23 degrees. We're lucky because the basketball hoop should be a 90-degree angle, so now we can use all of our right triangle trig stuff. Draw a picture and find the height of the basketball hoop. So that's what we're going to label as our x. Okay, so you always refer based off the angle that's given to you. So we'll label 23 as our theta, and then from there we'll label our opposite, adjacent, hypotenuse. Well, opposite's obviously across from the theta, adjacent is next to the theta, and the hypotenuse is always across from the 90. So now we've labeled that. Well, I'm going to go refer back up to here to SOHCAHTOA, and if you look, we are solving for the opposite, and we are given the adjacent, so O and A. Well, sine has to deal with H, cosine has to deal with H, but TOA, tangent, is O and A. So that means we have to use tangent in our equation. Tangent of an angle equals a ratio of sides. Okay? Well, the angle, which given to us, was 23 degrees, and then the ratio of sides for TOA was O over A. Well, O is represented by X, the opposite side, and the adjacent side is represented by 32. Okay, well now, remember we're using regular trig here if we're solving for a side, so let's find what tangent of 23 is. Put it on your calculator. 0.424 equals x over 32, and now we need to solve for x. Right now we have x divided by 32, and the inverse of division is multiplication, so I'm going to multiply both sides by 32, so that x is by itself, so 0.424, and multiply by 32. So I get 13.568 feet. Okay, if you have a calculator, please work with me. Okay? Question 8 and 9. Find the missing sides. These are our special right triangles because we are given 30, 60, 90. Okay, well, I'm going to take a quick second and draw the 30, 60, 90 on the bottom. Across from the 30 is always A. Across from the 60 is always A times the square root of 3. And across from the 90 is always A times 2. And then the other 30, 60, 90. Okay, across from the 30 is A, 60 is A times square root of 3, and the 90 is A times square root of 2, or sorry, just 2. So here we go. We are given the 60-degree angle. That is A root 3. So remember, if I want to find what the across from the 30 is, I need to multiply by square root of 3 to get to 9. But if I want to go in reverse, that means I need to divide by the square root of 3. So I take 9 over square root of 3, okay? You can leave that as your answer, but because we're doing this video, I'm going to also rationalize the denominator. And the way I do that is by multiplying by square root of 3 over square root of 3. So this could be your final answer, but please rationalize if possible. 9 times the square root of 3 is 9 square root of 3. Square root of 3 times square root of 3 is the square root of 9, which simplifies to 3. And then simplify this fraction right here, 9 divided by 3, which is 3 square root of 3. Okay, so that's my shorter leg. And now the relationship, if you focus down at this 30, 60, 90, between A and A times 2 is just multiply by 2. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take 3 root 3 and multiply by 2. Well, I can multiply these two numbers because they're outside the radical, so I get 6 root 3. There you go. Okay, number 9. We are not given the shorter leg or the longer leg. We're given the hypotenuse. And it says in our triangle that the relationship between the shorter leg and the hypotenuse is multiply by 2. So if I want to go this way to multiply by 2, the reverse of that is divide by 2. So I'm going to take 14 and divide by 2, which gives me 7. That's my shorter leg. And then the relationship between the shorter leg and the longer leg is multiply by square root of 3. So all I have to do is take this shorter leg, which is 7, and multiply by square root of 3, and that's my final answer. Okay, question 14. Oh, let's go up to the top, sorry. Question 10, a 45, 45, 90. Well, here's our 45, 45, 90. A, and then the relationship between the hypotenuse is A times the square root of 2. So, if I'm given a leg, I just multiply by the square root of 2, but if not, I have to go in reverse, so I have to divide by the square root of 2. So I'm going to take the hypotenuse, which is 6, divide by the square root of 2. Remember, you can give me this as your final answer, but if you want to rationalize the denominator, multiply by square root of 2 over square root of 2. 6 times the square root of 2, all over the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is 4, and the square root of 4 is 2. And then let's simplify. 6 divided by 2, which is 3, square root of 2. And once we know one leg, we automatically know the other, because they're congruent in a 45, 45, 90. Okay, it says the perimeter is 16 centimeters. Well, there's 4 sides for a square, so we divide that by 4, so that means each side is 4. So I have 4, 4, 4, 4. And it says find the length of the diagonal. Well, square has a 90-degree angle, so you could use Pythagorean theorem, but I also know that if I take a 90-degree angle and cut it in half, I'm going to get 45, 45, 90. And we just talked about how the relationship between the shorter leg, or the leg, and the hypotenuse is multiplied by square root of 2. So all I have to do is take this leg, which is 4, and multiply by square root of 2. And that is the length of my diagonal. If you use Pythagorean theorem, you're going to get 4 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. 16 plus 16 equals 32. The square root of 32 can simplify down to 4 times the square root of 2. 12 and 13, please use the Pythagorean theorem, which I know you guys can do. Leave within radical form if you can. Lastly, number 14, okay? This is where you have to use your altitudes. So we'll start here. Let's solve for x first. So I can compare the medium triangle to the large triangle. So that's going to be 9 over x equals x over 3, because 9 and x are from the medium triangle, x and 3 are from the large triangle. Multiply them, I get x squared equals 27. Square root both sides. Find a perfect square that's a factor of 27, which is square root of 9 times square root of 3. And the square root of 9 simplifies to 3. The square root of 3 stays as the square root of 3, and that's my answer for x. But now, let's focus on y. Okay? Well, we can still use that. I don't want to solve for x anymore, so let's focus on y. Let's look at this small triangle, 3 and y. That's good. That's a y. But now, if I look at the medium that has 9 and x, I don't want to use that anymore. So, we got to focus on the large, which we have y, and actually add these up, and we get 12. Remember, if y is in the denominator for the first proportion, it's got to be the numerator for the second. So we get y over 12. Cross multiply, which is 36. Y times y, which is y squared. Square root both sides, and we get 6 equals y. Okay, last page, simplifying radicals. You guys can do all these, okay? But let's focus on 19. Well, it's division, so simplify them separately. 4 stays as 4 because it's not the square root of 4. But we do have to simplify the square root of 32. So find a perfect square that's a factor of 32. 4 is a factor, but the greatest factor is actually 16. So I'm going to split this up into the square root of 16 times the square root of 2. I kept the square root symbol because I have not taken a square root. So I keep that 4 because it can't be simplified. The square root of 16 is 4, and the square root of 2 stays as the square root of 2. Okay, next, I will give you this as your final answer, but I would like to rationalize the denominator, so I'm going to multiply by square root of 2 over square root of 2. So that gives me 4 square root of 2 over 4 times 2, because the square root of 2 times square root of 2 is just 2. Okay, so that gives me 4 square root of 2 over 8. And then we can simplify this fraction right here. Divide both these by 4. 4 divided by 4 is 1, so that just leaves me a square root of 2. And 8 divided by 4 is 2, so that simplifies to square root of 2 over 2. Number 20. Multiply the numbers underneath the radical and the numbers outside the radical. Well, there's no numbers outside the radical besides 4, and the numbers underneath the radical are 7 times 6, which is 42. See if there's any factors of 42. Well, 42 divided by 4, nope. Divided by 9, nope. 16, I don't think so. 42 divided by 16, nope. Okay, so this is our final answer. We can't simplify anymore. Okay, number 21, square root of 8 divided by square root of 24. Let's simplify both the radicals. Square root of 4 and times 2 goes into 8. And then what about square root of 4 times square root of 6? Well, if you notice, you can just simplify these square roots of 4 out. That works because they both simplify to 2, which would simplify out either way. So now we have square root of 2 over square root of 6. If you want to rationalize the denominator, please do so by multiplying both sides by, or the numerator and denominator by square root of 6. So I get square root of 12 all over 6 times square root of 6 times square root of 6 simplifies to square root of 36. Square root of that is just 6. Okay, we're almost there. Square root of 12 can be broken off into square root of 4 times square root of 3. And then 6 stays there. Square root of 4 is 2 over 6. I'll give you full credit for that, but if you want to simplify the fraction, you can. 2 goes into 2, and 2 goes into 6, so that gives me square root of 3, or 1 square root of 3 over 3. Last one, square root of 312. Okay, I'll start by going with 4. Divide that by 4. We get 78. Let's see if 9 goes into it. 9 does not. Let's see if 16 goes into it. Make sure there's nothing bigger. 25 does not. 36? Nope. 49? Don't think so. So I guess we're stuck with 4. Okay, so we split it up into the square root of 4 times the square root of 78. And nothing else goes into 78, but the square root of 4 is 2. Square root of 78 cannot be simplified, so that's our final answer. Okay, take a look at all these, put it all together, and these are your questions, guys. You can do this.